Hello there, welcome to my review of the new EP from Ikkyu Nakajima called Dead. So this one's very interesting. So it's an EP, however, it's like part one to a two-part EP series. The second EP is called Love, and that came out recently. So I figured, hey, let's start with Dead first, especially because it came out, I think back in like June, July, sort of. So in case you don't know, Ikkyu Nakajima is the lead singer of the band Tricot. She's also the lead singer of the band Genie High, and she's also the lead singer of this side solo project called SUSU. So I've been listening to Tricot now for about 10, 11, 12 years, and they are by far my favorite just band ever. So because of that, I'm something of an Ikkyu super fan. I have a lot of Tricot merch. I have been trying to see them live for the longest time. However, my travel plans just never really align with their concerts. So it's been years since I've seen Tricot live, and I'd really like to again, and that's mainly because of Ikkyu. She's a fantastic songwriter and singer, and she also plays rhythm guitar on all of their songs. So personally, I find her to be an extremely talented musician in pretty much every way. And for that reason, I was very excited for this EP. Now, strangely enough, I'm not really a huge fan of this EP. So while I do like this EP, I don't think it's perfect. It's for sure not her best work. I have many opinions on what her actual best work is. However, I will say this is still a fairly enjoyable project, but not so much for listening purposes. Right off the bat, I will say I don't think sonically this album is all that enjoyable. It's fun, it's interesting. At the very least, I will say this album's extremely interesting because it's kind of a concept album, sort of in a way. However, even that's hard to explain because EQ is a very intricate songwriter. She uses a lot of like idioms and puns and stories and metaphors and hypotheticals. So not only is translating her work hard, I can only assume that because she uses subtext so much in so much of her work, it's hard to even really nail down what she's trying to express in the songs. So join me and we'll do what we can. So there's one website on the internet called uta.net. Uta.net has saved me for so many of these videos because they list full lyrics for a ton of songs. They seem to be the source of truth in a way for Japanese lyrics. Now, what sucks is that you can't right click on their website and you can't do copy, paste, or anything on their website because they have that option disabled. So what I did is I went to Inspect Element, and I found every single line for every single song, and I copy and pasted that from the code, and I put it in a Word doc. So I have what I think is the only copy and pastable full lyrics for this whole EP on the whole internet, I think. And I'm not trying to like make myself seem special for doing that. It sucked. It was a ton of work, and I'm about to use all of that work for maybe only like an 8-minute video. So when I say I'm a super fan, I'm a super fan. I do the work. I put in the hours. So before I actually talk about the songs, let's actually talk about the whole theme and concept of this concept album EP project thing. So you can pretty much tell from the get-go that it's about death or the end of something because the EP is called Dead. So let's talk about that. So the first song is the title track, so it's called Dead. And so from what I can tell, all of the songs maybe are related, maybe possibly. So there is no evidence for that besides one line in one of the songs. So I don't think it's quite connected, but it for sure feels that way. So the song Dead is about Ikkyu being a stalker and stalking someone, and she kind of has some fun with the lyrics in that way too. So in one of the verses, she talks about how, oh, you're probably looking for your favorite shampoo in your favorite store. Well, I bought all of it, so it's all gone. Sorry, right? And then she also ends the song by saying, like, I'll be waiting for you at your bus stop, see you there, looking forward to seeing you, blah, 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 blah. And so just from this first song, we can kind of infer that a lot of the lyrics are going to trend towards a one-sided love story. We'll always have Ikkyu as the protagonist or like our main character, and then who I'm just going to refer to as her lover, as whoever that other character is in the scenario. So that's kind of the synopsis for the first song. It's about her being a stalker, and it's kind of playful with that theme, even if it's kind of a serious like topic. She's still having fun with it. It's because she's able to tackle topics like this, but in sort of an uncharacteristic way, which is one of the reasons why I really like her as a songwriter. So the next song can be translated as sweet flavor. So this one's strange. She kind of takes this cannibalistic tone, this like murderous sort of facade, And she talks about how this other person, her prospective lover, tastes really good. And now, is this the character from the first song? Maybe, possibly. This could possibly be the next scene, right? And she talks about wanting to experience her lover with all 5 of her senses. So obviously, taste, touch, sight, smell, and hearing. And she's probably, by this point in the story, experienced a good amount of those. And it seems like she's ending with taste. Because towards the end of the song, she talks about how upset she is when she finishes her meal. She's downtrodden in that, oh, that's all there was? That wasn't as great as I thought it would be. Sure, you can take this very literally as her murdering and eating this person, but then you can also kind of infer it as a metaphor for a relationship once it ends. You sort of eat and eat and eat until it's over and there's nothing left, and then you can only look back at it either very fondly or just sort of dismissively. And that's kind of the route that she's taking in this song, at least. So yeah, a cool continuation of the concept. The rest of the songs won't quite be this dark. So the third song is called Icon. So the translation for icon, it's kind of like an appeal to someone. So you can title the song like appeal or appeal to you or to appeal. So in this song, she expresses how she wants to be the only person in her lover's life. She asks them to share their selves with her because the lover can always make more. So there's no problem, right? So that's kind of used as the hook throughout the song. The translation of the hook is as follows. Please give me just a few of your cells. You're always making more, right? Please give me just a few of your cells. You're going to die at some point anyway, right? So again, we're kind of getting more, I want you to be with me, but not just with me, like inside of me and a part of who I am. And again, this song takes kind of more of a evil, sort of like undertone where it's a love song, but it's also like, it's kind of serial killery, but again, having fun with it, right? So the next song is called Mansion, and Mansion's really interesting because this is that one that I mentioned earlier that kind of alludes to the prior events on the EP. So the opening line quite literally goes, I killed him so many times during that song. Again, we can kind of infer that she is aware of the songs. There is some kind of meta commentary there. There is definitely a guy that she killed, and as we've seen on the prior songs, she has killed at least one guy. However, other than this, there's no real through line to any of the others. At this point in the story, she's kind of upset over something and is going to kill herself because of that. So she talks about stabbing herself in her heart and the blood spraying just all over, particularly over her and her lover. And then she says now her and her lover can now sleep together forever. And she also mentions, oh, your body's right there, it's spraying all over you, you can't move, blah, blah, blah. So there's another guy who is dead. And so the final verse of the song has this little section at the end, which goes, we're now just 2 empty shells, and the world isn't as polluted. We were so beautiful. From here on, we can sleep together in my song. So again, she killed someone, and she killed him for her own reasons, which are because she loves him, obviously. And so also just to kind of talk about the word mansion. So mansion in Japanese is often used for the word apartment. They do have a word for apartment, which is apato, but a lot of the time I see the word manshon used to describe one's apartment because that is the title of it in Japanese. I'm assuming this song's context is they're inside of one of their apartments and she just murdered him and now she's killing herself. So are you with me still? With that, we're on the last song called Milk. So from what I can tell, the story for this song is that the lover is cheating on Ikkyu, and she knows it. And because of that, she's like toying with him and kind of hinting that she knows, but she isn't outright saying it. She's kind of getting some enjoyment from all this. One of the verses is, you're such a fool. Does that person even love you? Beautiful things are always fleeting, but you know what's best, right? So obviously she knows, and she's referring to that beautiful thing as the other person, that they'll probably leave her lover, but maybe not, because she knows that she's being cheated on, but she also seems kind of okay with that. But that's also a topic she has discussed in her prior work as well. There's a song from the band Tricot's third album called Yosuiki. And so in that song, Ikkyu actually sings about how, am I the one that's the sub in this relationship if I'm letting you use me for my body, but I want you to use me for that? So am I really the one in control? So she's kind of tackled with these relationship dynamics in the past. And so it's not really too surprising to me that this is a topic on her mind, and it's something that she kind of already has experience writing about. So I will say it comes out very naturally in her lyrics on this song and also throughout the rest of this EP too. I am allowed one tangent per video, and that's the one I'm choosing, so you're welcome. So the brass tacks of this song is that every time Ikkyu confronts her lover about their infidelity, they get visibly nervous, which she's really enjoying. And so again, that kind of connects back to Yosuiki as she likes to be in control and not seeming like she's the one in control. So maybe that's like a real life character trait of hers because she's talked about it multiple times now over the course of the last 7 years. One thing to note is that this song actually doesn't have as much of a nefarious sort of ending. It just sort of just ends with her knowing of his infidelity, and then she just kind of like smiles and is enjoying it, and then it ends. And so we have to ask ourselves the question, what is the death in that song? Because every other song has kind of tackled that sort of malice. So maybe the one in this is that it's the end of the relationship, and she's okay with that, as alluded to in the lyrics for this song. So maybe. And I really like that she left at least one of the songs vague so that there was room for that interpretation. Again, great trait of a great songwriter. So nice job there, Ikkyu. So that was the concept of the project. Now let's talk about the actual songs. So like I said, I'm not a real huge fan of the songs musically. I kind of have a problem with each of them. I think they're too out of place on the project. There is no real cohesive sound. Like that very first song, Dead, is kind of this like 90s rock throwback. And then in that song, Sweet Flavor, it's kind of this bedroom pop sort of sound. So it's really just all over the place. For the most part, I think Ikkyu's vocals are pretty fantastic overall. I'm just not so much a fan of the actual instrumentation. And so she had been promoting this EP as her debut solo project. So I was really hoping that there would be more of a strong showing instrumentally for that. So because I've listened to her guitar work for the past 10 years, I'm really familiar with how good of a guitarist she is, but I feel like that skill never really makes an appearance on this album. I don't know who was working with her to create the album, but it seems like they had more control instrumentally than she did, while she just focused on lyrics. And just one last note on that too, the third song, Icon, has some like reggae elements and like drum and bass and breakcore and like lasers, and it's just not doing it for me. I don't know what she was thinking here. I will say though that I do like the guitar melodies on that final song, Milk, but that's really the only standout positive musical moment on the project for me, unfortunately. And so those are my thoughts on the album. Not my favorite, like I said. I think one of my main issues is the mixing isn't all that great. Songs like Dead have just various pieces mixed too close to the same level, and it almost sounds like static, especially with this like very crunchy sound of the guitar effect pedal that I just can't make out a lot of the instrumentation underneath that. It's so strange. Personally, I also don't think that Ikkyu's voice is suited for these kind of instrumentals. I think she sounds fantastic with Tricot. I kind of like how she sounds on Genie High's work. Not all of it. She for sure has some standouts in their discography, but yeah, I just don't think this was the project for her. And again, I am a ride or die Ikkyu Nakajima stan. I try not to be too biased, and I feel like if I was like too biased, I would probably be overlooking all of this no matter what. But you kind of got to be real and say, ooh, Ikkyu, this ain't it, girl. I'm sorry. It's like you're in an extremely busy farmer's market with merchants like yelling over one another and people just like walking into you every second. And you're kind of comfortable because you're around other people, other life, but you're just also uncomfortable because you're just getting pushed around and you're just a rock in the current that's flowing through whatever. And you really don't have any like agency. You're flung from one thing to the next. And that's just how this album sounds sonically. I will say I think the instrumentation improves once you hit the song Mansion, but everything before that is just kind of not for me. And I don't think it's for Ikkyu either, frankly. So ultimately, I would give this a 6 out of 10. I love the concept. I love the songwriting. She nails it there. Instrumentally, I just think this thing is a mess. And mixing-wise, not awful, but also kind of a mess. So I feel like 6 out of 10 is fair. I will say good on her for trying something new on this because she hasn't really made a project like this with anyone in the past, so that's kind of cool. So props for that, but I just don't think it was as successful as it could have been, and I think that's heavily reliant on whoever she partnered with for the instrumental. So I don't think it's entirely her fault, though I will say she is the one who let this all come to pass. So it's her solo project, so it ultimately is on her. But hey, there's nothing wrong with getting out of your comfort zone, trying something new. I'll give her half a point for that. So that's what gets her to that 6 out of 10. So nice job, Ikkyu. So those are my thoughts on the EP Dead. I am looking forward to reviewing her next one called Love, which is already out and has been out for about a month now. So I'm going to go through that and we're going to see how that goes. So that's going to be part 2 of this. And she also has another EP from earlier this year with her sort of side gig called SUSU. So I will be going over that too. I've already written up a script for it. Not my favorite project of hers either. But yeah, 6 out of 10. And definitely try out this album if you are a fan of Tricot for sure. Maybe not so much if you're a fan of Genie High. It's not too similar stylistically, but Tricot for sure. Yeah, those are my thoughts. Thank you for watching. Can't wait to see you in the next one for Ikkyu, and have a good rest of your day.